Now, in the coming years, more than 500 million Indians are likely to experience the internet for the first time in their lives. And if the internet is anything like it looks like today, one of the biggest obstacles this lot will face is the lack of content to consume in a language that they think and express themselves in. Indian local language content makes up only 0.1% of all the content on the internet, an abysmally low number when we consider the fact that India, outside of the US and China, has the largest number of internet users already. A report has also found that by 2022, the number of smartphone users in India will hit 440 million. So what will these folks be doing on their phones? Communication, social media and entertainment will account for 2/3 of all the time Indians spend on their smartphones and apps. Now, tapping into this opportunity is Bengaluru-based startup Pratilipi, which in Sanskrit means you are a reflection of what you read. It's very apt, and we must say, because the team behind Pratilipi is one that comprises of reading aficionados who hit a wall when they wanted to read good quality content online, but in their mother tongues. Founded in 2015, Pratilipi today has 29,000 writers on its platform and 1.5 million active monthly users, creating and consuming in 8 Indian languages. Here's the Pratilipi startup story.
I come from a very, very small village in Raebareli. So it's like a 1,000 population village. Most people don't really know English. If you earn like 5,000 or 10,000 a month, you're supposed to be a very rich guy. On the side of this, I'm also a voracious reader. So I probably read more than anybody that you probably personally know. I used to read like 120 plus books a year. I started by reading comics like Champak, Nanda Mama, Balhans, Chacha Chaudhary. Then I started reading classical Hindi literature, Premchand, Nirala, Dinkar. And then I went to pursue my engineering from KIT University Bhubaneswar, and I realized Hindi content is not really available that much. So offline bookstores can only carry maybe a couple of thousand titles. And if you read as much as I do, you have probably read most of the good ones. And online, there wasn't really anything. So I'm talking about 2006. So I started reading English literature or English content in general, mostly international authors. So I also started cribbing to my friends that this is ridiculous. Like, it should be my choice whether I want to read in Hindi or if I want to read in English or some other language. Having said that, coming from a middle class family, didn't really do anything about it back then. Went on to pursue my MBA from FMS Delhi. Then joined Vodafone, worked there for a couple of years. And then I thought I was doing a little too well. And that doesn't make sense. So I left my job and I was trying to decide what to do.
Egged on by his friends and now his co-founders, Prashant, Rahul Ranjan, Shankar Devarajan and Sarhadi Modi, Ranjit took time to travel through the country and met over 450 writers and authors in person to understand why there was this asymmetry in demand and supply.
I was actually being, let's say, not really a very considerate guy. So I am still lucky that at least if I don't find something in Hindi, I can go ahead and read in English. But what about others who don't know English? So for example, let's say my mom or my brother, they have only 2 choices. Either they find and read something in Hindi or they don't. Like, that's about it. They don't have a choice like me to go and read English. Then I got to know a lot of shocking things. First and foremost, that a vast majority of writers in the country, they do not get paid for writing at all. They typically have to pay the publisher to basically publish something, and that is ridiculous. So there are people who want to read and there are people who want to write. In fact, they are already writing, and it's just that they don't really have a connection with each other. And that kind of seemed like a weird place. And I thought, okay, let me try and see if we can build a platform that can connect these 2 sides, and that's about it. So in fact, that's the way I decided. My co-founders are also very, very similar. All of these people are born and raised in a smaller town or villages, and then they have worked or studied at some of the premier colleges, worked at some of the largest companies. So they had seen the same 2 kinds of India that I was talking about.
And it is perhaps this straddling of the 2 Indias that has led to the intuitive nature of how this self-publishing platform Pratilipi has been built, with a layer of social networking added on. But building a 2-sided marketplace isn't easy. When starting out, which side of the market does one begin crashing? In Pratilipi's case, the answer was simple: the supply side.
I had already met 400 authors before deciding to build Pratilipi, right? So I had numbers and emails of these 400 people, and they had actually seen my face. So they knew there is a real guy who is actually trying to do something. So first thing that we did was reach out to these people. And most of the cases, they said, yeah, we really want to help you. But the problem is that I know nobody is reading. I know the younger population simply does not want to read. So I want to help you, but it's simply not worth my time. So we said, fine. We said, okay, here, how about this? You just give us permission. You just say yes. And then we'll do whatever it takes. So we will build your profiles on Pratilipi, we will post your content. If we have to type it out, we'll type it out. Like all you have to do is say yes, and that's it. So that was one part to get like first 100 authors who are still alive, or 150 authors. The second step was to get public domain content. So for example, let's say a Ramayana or a Premchand or a Tulsidas, so that kind of content for Hindi and Gujarati on Pratilipi. And then basically we tried to do everything that we could do to get readers for this content. So when we started doing that, for the first few weeks at least, like we had maybe 20, 30, 40 readers a day. So typically if the numbers were going down for a particular day, I'll basically go on Facebook and post a status saying that I just read this book and this is awesome. And maybe 10 other people will come in and my numbers will jump twice. And so that's how small the base was. But over a period of time, as this number started growing a little bit, the exciting thing was that some of the people would come and basically read something, and then they will say, boss, this was written by my friend. So if you are publishing his story, why are you not publishing my story also? And we'll say, sure, like mail it to us, we'll publish it.
From 20 to 40 readers back in 2015 to 1.5 million monthly active users today, Pratilipi has 29,000 authors on their platform, publishing books, stories, novels, poems and essays in 8 Indian languages. Readers on an average spend 37 minutes on the Pratilipi app, and for writers, the app has evolved to facilitate writing within the app itself, along with a more robust AI engine to create the social networking effects required to popularize a writer's work on the platform. And one such writer who's made Pratilipi her very own is Hyderabad-based Pavitra Agarwal. Pavitra was an active writer in her teens in Lucknow, but marriage, a move to Hyderabad and children distanced her from writing till a fatal cardiac illness turned the tide. Worried that her children won't know or remember their mother, Pavitra started writing again, and she hasn't looked back since. A published author of children's books and novels, Pavitra was introduced to Pratilipi by a friend on Facebook.
तो मुझे इसमें सबसे अच्छी बात तो ये लगी थी कि हम ये समझते थे कि हिंदी में पाठकों की बहुत कमी है, हम किसके लिए लिख रहे हैं। लेकिन प्रतिलिपि में मैंने जाके देखा कि इतने ज़्यादा पाठक हैं, बहुत पाठक हैं प्रतिलिपि में, और पढ़ते हैं और कमेंट भेजते हैं। तो नए पाठकों की जब प्रतिक्रियाएँ आती हैं, एक ने कहा मेरे हस्बैंड में बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन आया है आपकी कहानी पढ़ के। लेखन का उद्देश्य भी यही है कि उसे पढ़ करके कहीं कोई कुछ % लोगों के जीवन में कुछ संतोष आए।
9 out of 10 of the next 500 million Indians coming online will be more conversant in their native languages than in English. So the market is massive, but is user-generated content on a free, self-publishing platform like Pratilipi the answer to solving this content conundrum? And was finding investor buy-in a challenge?
First and foremost is that till about a year and a half back, for a vast majority of investors, especially the relatively speaking smaller investors, one of the biggest questions was how do you monetize? And then China Literature, basically, which is now owned by Tencent, they did their IPO a few months back. And I think from that time onwards, it has become a little bit more obvious to people that okay, there is one other way to monetize, and that has been part of our plan A of monetization that we have talked about. So that has become a lot easier since China Literature basically IPO'd. The second, and I would argue probably even more important than this, has been that some of the smartest VCs that we met, they basically typically said that there are only X number of writers in the country, right now. Maybe let's say officially the number would be maybe 500,000, probably lesser. So if you only have 500,000 writers, how does this become, at a venture scale business? The question was, can we create new writers? So we kept on theoretically saying that at some point in time, readers will start magically becoming writers. For example, before YouTube came along, how many people were like video producers? It was basically movie makers and TV series makers, and that's it. And now basically everybody kind of, creates videos.
It also helps that one of the investors that pumped in money into Pratilipi's Series A of $4.3 million is a Chinese VC, Shunwei Capital, which is the venture capital firm started by Xiaomi founder Li Jun. The round was led by Umidyar Network, and existing investors, Nexus Venture Partners and Times Internet also participated.
So in our context, basically my cost of content acquisition is zero because we don't create any content, we don't curate any content, we don't have a single journalist or an editor or a writer on the platform, on our payroll, for example. It's an entirely UGC platform. So cost of content acquisition is zero. Similarly, cost of customer acquisition is close to zero because we don't really spend any money on marketing or advertising or anything of that sort. So vast majority of readers who come on to Pratilipi, they come on their own or they come by being referred by someone or by search. So essentially, because the cost structure in the sense of variable cost is close to zero, so we can afford to essentially not worry about monetization. Then we potentially could have very strong network effects. Think on this way, ki if you're a writer, where would you go and publish your next story? You would go and publish your next story whoever has the most reach or the most number of audiences. So then basically whoever is bigger keeps on becoming bigger. Similarly, if you're a reader, what platform do you go to read? You typically go to a platform that has like the best and the most varied content. So again, a platform that has a large number of users essentially gets to build a better recommendation or a better personalization engine. So you get to read the best content. So which is why, for example, we can think of multiple competitors to Netflix. There is Amazon Prime, there is Hotstar, there is Hulu, there is a bunch of others. But who is a competitor to YouTube? There is basically YouTube and there is basically nobody. Which is the difference between typically UGC platforms and aggregators.
So the team is not actively thinking of monetization, at least for the next 2.5 years. And even then, some avenues that they might explore for monetization include subscription fees and licensing of original IP rights. But that's in the future. This year, Pratilipi plans to launch audio stories as well as expand to other regional languages while improving their personalization and recommendation engine.